What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for a very special edition. We have Wrestling Inc. live for you. These shows are going to be a little bit different than the Wrestling Inc. podcasts that we do. Wrestling Inc. Live will feature a special guest whenever we are able to book them or whenever we do book them. You've heard me pitch this man's product dozens of times. You've heard me talk to you about how AJ Styles used it, about how John Cena uses it, about how Stevie Richards, at 40-something years old, is competing for the Ring of Honor television title because of this man. And he's not in his seat right now. Now he is. I'm in Dallas Page. How are you?
I was sitting too low in that seat. I wanted to get my picture in. Can you see that back there?
That's beautiful.
That's sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is that?
That is actually a photo of a guy standing in Pittsburgh, somewhere out in Pittsburgh. That's an actual photo of, actually a locomotive, and you can see him up there. And what the guy does who does this, he takes them and makes them look like paintings.
Huh.
Pretty cool, huh?
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Is it titled "Get Me the Hell Out of Pittsburgh"?
Yeah, yes, I don't know. Well, I'm back. I forgot my water. Right back.
All right.
Anyway, I mean, as I mentioned, you all have heard me pitch the DDP Yoga program, the DDP Yoga Now app, the resurrection of Jake the Snake. Jake is going to Australia later this year. You saw him, when was it? Earlier this year at WrestleMania?
WrestleMania, yeah.
WrestleMania. DDP, I got to tell you, I was not expecting to see you at WrestleMania. Neither was Raj, who was at your workshop earlier that day, and apparently you kayfabed him.
I kayfabed everybody. The only person who knew was my buddy who was taking me to the arena because I had to get a way out of there and get over to Dallas Cowboy Stadium. And of course, my wife knew, and that was it. That was there. I didn't tell Jake. I didn't tell Scott. I didn't tell anybody.
So when did they contact you for it? Was it pretty well in advance? Was it before you booked that session that morning?
Oh, it was I'd already booked that.
Okay.
And they like to have everybody there at 12 o'clock. Well, I wasn't. Raj, I wasn't going to be done at 12 o'clock.
Right.
I got there. I woke up at 8 o'clock that morning because I like to walk around. You see, I walk around and meet every single person. And I was taking pictures early because I wanted to make sure I got a picture with everybody, too, that took the time to come. So about 3 months before, I got a call from Mark Carano, and he wanted to book me now. He also booked me, Jake, and Scott just to make sure that we were in. And they said, if you get any other bookings, just talk to us before you book it. It's like, no worries. Because if you get a really good booking, they're going to no problem, because they fly in, first class, put you up in a 5-star hotel. So I'm pretty much be, if they need me, I'm going to be there, and I get paid good money. So it got to 2 weeks before Mania, and I get a call from Carano. He says, DDP, we're going to need you at Mania. I said, yeah, I'll be there. No, but we're going to actually need you there. I go, that day? He goes, yeah. I go, yeah, well, I'm going to be there. He goes, to work. I go, how to work? He said, Vince came up with the idea of throwing in a celebrity and 2 of the legends a la Battle Royal style, Royal Rumble style, and he said, who can actually still work, and we're not going to, have a problem with it. And I guess they have like 12 names. Vince took a look at the list and he grabbed Tatanka and me. And I was like, awesome. And still didn't know who the celebrity was going to be, but I didn't care. I'm like, it's 2 days before my 60th birthday, and I'm going to get not only be down enjoying Mania and all the festooneries that come with it, my workshop, WrestleCon. I mean, the whole thing. I love the whole, spectacle of it all. And now I'm going to actually get to work right before the main event.
Right.
And I saw Shaq. I was like, okay, now this makes sense. And when I walked over to him, he gave me the biggest, most sincere hug, said, dude, big fan of yours, man. You were one of my favorites. I was like, wow. Because one of my, who isn't Shaq's, being one of your favorite players,
Yeah.
I just watched, I loved watching on Netflix This Magic Moment. The team that they had put together, like everybody who was a player, which I was, from a little guy on up, I loved the game, and to be able to watch that, after the fact, it was pretty cool. But Shaq was really cool, and first time we actually walked through it, he went over the top, and he took a bump like boom on the floor. And went, oh my God, Shaq, you ready? Yeah, I'm all right. Like, Shaq, don't do that. 1 foot up, 1 foot down. Lever yourself there. But it was fun, man. And I remember Big Show going, for you young guys, just letting you know, when we get to the ropes and you pile in, all the cameras are going to be on Shaq. So you saw who was right next to him.
Isn't it?
Over, but I'm also protecting him as much as I can too.
Isn't it wild that was really the first wrestling match he's ever worked with all the interest that he's had in doing it, considering how big of a star he is?
He looked unbelievable, as lean as he was. That's the leanest I've seen him since player days. And you could tell how excited he was by how fast he ran to the ring. That was a little bit of a distance, But, it was awesome, And then getting to work with the young guys, And I told Victor, I said, Victor, Connors was throwing me out. So I said, I'll go for the diamond cutter, boom, you shoot me out. And Victor goes, you hit me with it, and then you can throw me. And I go, dude, I don't have to hit you with a diamond cutter. He goes, you don't want to? I goes, of course I want to, but you don't have to. I love hitting another diamond cutter at Mania. And, it was all, everybody was just so cool. I had a great time. Stephanie and Paul came by, checked us out, and Kiss came down, gave them both a big hug, because it was like, thanks for the birthday present. Because I knew the payoff was going to be sweet, and I'd have done it for nothing. And, those guys, they let me wear all this stuff. They let me wear DDP yoga stuff. In that scenario, a minimum of 1,000 people were going to see it. And then millions of people would watch at WrestleMania for so many reasons. So, to be able to keep my brand out there and then let me do that, the only people I know that they let do that are Rock, because now he has affiliation with, what clothing line does he have?
Roots of Fight.
He's got that, but he also, I thought he was with...
I think Under Armour, right?
Under Armour, right. And, of course, Brock, he can do whatever he wants to do.
No one's telling him no.
So I consider it a huge honor, and I'm getting the best push I've ever got between 55 and 60, which is where I really love having it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We saw the shape.
That.
Actually, I'm getting a little feedback right now. Dallas.
Feedback from me?
Yeah.
Is that from Dallas or from me?
Might be from you.
It might be from you. I haven't done anything.
Well, we see the type of shape that you're in now with DDP Yoga, and we saw the insane shape that Scott Hall was in over WrestleMania weekend. What I want to ask, DDP and Scott Hall 2016 versus DDP and Scott Hall from TNA in 2004, who wins that match, Dallas?
They do. Ego, still they do.
Oh, man. Yeah, we've got some questions from fans, but I have a question that I want answered, and it's bothered me for 20 years, Dallas. Who the hell was your benefactor?
Oh, my God. Bischoff and I would get in the biggest arguments when we were both, annihilated. Dude, let me tell people who the benefactor is. No one cares. 20 years later, people still ask me that. I said I had the perfect response. It was Kimberly. She had all the money. Let me just say that. And just let me put a button on it. He wouldn't let me ever do it. It was like something that no one cares. Yes, they do. So I always thought it just would have been Kimberly. because we ended up getting back together and everything.
I wanted to ask you too. Is the sound better, or is it kind of the same?
It's still the mic sound, but I mean you're getting no feedback.
Okay. But Dallas, after WrestleMania, you went to Australia. I think you just got back pretty recently, right? You were promoting the Resurrection of Jake the Snake. That just came out on DVD and Blu-ray. What was that experience like to go from WrestleMania and then you're flying overseas, coming back? I mean, it must have been an exhausting last couple of months.
I literally, I screwed my back up running down the stairs and missed the last stair before I left Romania. So I had that thing. If I didn't have my workout, I would have been so crippled up. But I went to Australia the day I came home from Mania. And that was my birthday, April 5th. So it flew 21 hours in the air with layovers, about 25 hours. I think it was everything, 26. And got there and did some signings up at the Gold Coast, which is gorgeous. All 5-star hotels and super, first class, everything. So I did that for the weekend. Got to see the country a little bit. Then went right down to Melbourne. They hooked us up again down there, and another signing for they called not Comic-Con. It's Supernova. And then my buddy Ralph picked me up, and I stayed at his place. And I love Australia. The people are great. We got a great response. I got to do like their Good Morning America, or Good Morning Australia, I should say. The Today Show, I guess it is, spin-off there, and a bunch of different shows, and brand the product because it's one of the places we have a pretty decent following. And then for the workshop, we had 111 people in Dallas, Texas for Mania, and we had 97 people in Australia, which was pretty sweet. And we also had 500 people that came to see the Resurrection of Jake the Snake. And they were paying $30 a person, to see the movie and then a Q&A. So that was a pretty great turnout. The people were really cool. And then I turned around and came right back home. And I literally landed in Atlanta, went home, unpacked, packed, and left for New York to go shoot Holy Foley. And there's an episode that I'm going to be on with Mick that, man, don't miss it. It's there's some gold there that Mick and I put together, and a lot of fun. And then I flew back the next day. I had to film about 6 hours on a movie set. Then I went home and crashed for 2 days.
Nice.
It was a whirlwind, but it was a lot of fun and worth it.
Somebody on our board asks an interesting question. Have you ever considered releasing a line of DDP yogurts or Jake the Snake protein shakes?
Oh, God. Well, that's funny you say that because we just developed a DDP. It's called DDP Organics. And like organic, but like organics. And it's an amazing tasting instead of a whey protein, it's a vegetable protein, and it's the best proteins, which are they assimilate way better in your body, and now a lot of that's coming out. That's why you're seeing so many more vegan proteins, but we have one that tastes sort of like Yoo-Hoo, but healthy. So that should be out the next probably 6 months. So there actually is a protein drink there. DDP yogurt, maybe DDP Yoda. Maybe DDP Yoda. There is no side. There is only to do. That's my.
I wanted to ask you too about the DVD just came out this week. It contains a bunch of extras. There was one that we posted on the site that you had, Jake and Scott and their phone call and everything. There's others. There's one with Jake visiting Scott, surprising him after that call and visiting him. How difficult was the process, and what made the cut and what didn't, and then what went on as a special feature?
Well, there's 20 special features, and a lot of them have never been seen before. A lot of stuff has been seen on YouTube, but not so much in the extra features, except for the full length, Scott Hall call, obviously, for obvious reasons, because that was so pivotal. But a lot of the background stuff, like a lot of people, and it was really interesting to me, the people who have asked, who are those guys in the background? Like you see Dylan at one time, you see Nathan another time, when they're talking about, because it wasn't just me. It wasn't just Steve Yu who helped this whole process. There was a lot of people involved that really, it takes a village, when you're trying to deal with raising a child or addiction or just life. It takes a lot of people. So we bring a lot of that to light. One of my favorite things to do when I watch a DVD, if I really love the movie, well, now I want to watch the director's commentary. I want to know what the director was thinking or the stars in it. And they sort of talk over the movie as it goes. Like if you watch Braveheart, it's really cool to hear Mel Gibson and one of the other stars talk about like the castle and what happened that day and blah, blah, blah. So I shot that with me, Steve Yu, and Jake. And remember, the first time Jake ever saw himself annihilated was in this movie. He's never seen it before. Because when we would put YouTube pieces up, he would just walk out of the room. I mean, who wants to see themselves in that spot? Like, no one. So I also think that this has a lot to do with helping Jake. This has a lot to do with helping Scott, because it's no secret. I mean, the internet is everywhere. If someone F's up, someone's going to have it on video. That's why if someone goes, "Oh, I heard Jake Roberts was drunk the other night," I just say, you're a liar. Because if he was, you'd have been doing this. Yeah. That's what you've been doing. You filmed it and you put it up. And I think that's great because it's a whole different level of accountability. And Jake has been sober over 2.5 years now. Like straight. When you get past that first year, there's a fog. When you've been annihilated for 20, 30 years, it takes a while. But the fog has cleared. Now, does he still have demons and stuff? Of course he does. Everyone does. But Jake's at a different spot right now. Jake is preparing his future. He's 61. How many people are recreating themselves at 41? Never mind 51 or 61. And Jake's incredibly positive about it because of what's happened and the stuff that's happened. And he's carrying a ridiculous amount of debt from his ex-wife from stuff that he has to pay. So all of that, all these like at any point they could have turned him back to the bottle. For a guy who hasn't seen okay, I've got 5 of my 8 kids back. I'm, inspiring people. I don't care what anybody says. There's a lot of people who love Diamond Dallas Page. There's a lot of haters. I can find them on your site pretty easily, Raj. There's a couple. And, to me, at times it makes me laugh. Other times I fire shit back off at them. Just because it's I'm going to call you out here. None of those guys, not one of them, would have one word to say to my face. That's the only thing I respect. Not one would have anything. I will tell you exactly where I'll be. At any mania, you can catch me at my workshop. Just come. Just come and tell me to my face.
Raj, you need to book a wrestling show, and I know what it needs to be. The main event is 2 Wrestling Inc. readers against Diamond Dallas Page and Melissa Joan Hart.
Hey, there you go.
Melissa, she made an appearance in our comment section when people trashed her, and she fought back.
Well, I have. You've seen me fire back on some of them.
Yeah.
And one of those people really jumped in my shit because I said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to really, one of the things we hope to do is introduce Jake and Scott. It was really Jake at the time, but maybe Scott had come in then. No, it had to be Jake. To the internet, to Twitter and Facebook and email, because both of those guys had like the little flip-top phone when they got here. And that's the average 55, 60-plus-year-old guy who hasn't gone with the changes. And he was like, how ridiculous. DDP thinks he's going to cure Jake Roberts with the internet. Like, no, moron. What I do believe, though, is that Jake is going to start to be able to see that people really care about him. We put the thing up for Indiegogo. They raised money for his shoulder surgery. One guy was like, oh, how come you're not paying for everything? You're making millions of dollars. It's like, I was already paying for everything. And whatever money didn't come in, I would have paid for. But I wanted to see if it was possible that people really cared that much. And we asked, you see it in the movie, we asked for $9,200, thinking it was going to cost about $92,000. It cost $16,700, but I didn't know that at the time. When we asked for $9,200, in 11 hours, we had $7,000.
Right.
$7,000. We would go on to raise $29,000. Now, a piece of that Indiegogo gets. The rest went to pay Jake's bills and whatever bills he had after that. That was for Jake Roberts. Like alimony, et cetera, et cetera. He couldn't go out on the road in the beginning. No one believed in him. But once they did, he not only got booked way more, but Jake started making way more money. Like, way more. So Jake's whole life was recreated. And it started with me helping him, but the internet had a lot to do with it. Like, a lot.
Whenever I do the pitches, I tell everybody that if you've watched Beyond the Mat, this is mandatory viewing. There was no closure in Beyond the Mat and the shape that you saw Jake in. And the WDB did their documentary years later, but they tried to hide a lot of what was going on with him, which was still going on with him. Your film didn't really hide anything, and
no.
It was brutally honest.
No, we didn't hide anything, and it was brutal on me at times because at times, and you can't take it personal if you're going to help someone with an addiction, but you do. You do, because they're doing so good, and then I go away, and then you go boom, and you fall down. So I told him, I said, Jake, we're filming everything, but I promise you, I will never play this movie anywhere unless you are behind it 100%. And that was a fact. And when we finally sat down to watch it, probably on its 10th, 12th, 13th edit. There was probably 28 edits all in. Because Steve Yu, the director, did an unbelievable job. Unbelievable. On about the 12th or 13th edit, I sat down with Jake and I said, we got to watch this movie. And he goes, I'm ready. I said, there's two things, bro. One, you can't leave. If we start this movie, we can't leave. You can't leave the room. And the other thing is, you got to remember, what's the most important thing in our business? The finish. Right. Like, you can screw the whole match up. Don't F up the finish. And I said, the finish is strong. So you got to get there. And it didn't have the finish that you see today. And I don't want to spoil it for the people who haven't seen it because they'll think it's a finish. And it's a great finish, but it's a false finish. And I showed it to Austin. And Steve said, I like it. And he had 3 different critiques. And he said, I think your finish can be stronger. I'm thinking stronger than that. And then I finished the 25th edit. and I sent it to him. And he was blown away. On tape, because you can't make Austin say anything. And I don't care if you're paying him. If you're paying him to be on his podcast, unless he's down with it, he ain't saying shit. He's just not gonna. He'll put it in his own words. He ain't saying what you want him to say, unless he believes in it. He called The Resurrection of Jake Snake the best documentary he has ever seen. He said it even rolled a tear or two down his cheek, which I couldn't believe he admitted on film, which I was like, oh, wow. I wasn't there when he filmed it. I just want to hear what he would say. But the one thing I want to tell everybody out there who haven't seen the movie yet, if you have seen it, I don't know if you've thought about this or not. If you, every single wrestling fan should see this movie. But every single wrestling fan knows that there are people in their lives that, you have people who love wrestling, then they're okay, they watch occasionally. Then you have people who don't really like it. And then you have that person that's in your life. It could be your mother, your father, your brother, could be your girlfriend. I don't care who it is. They're mad at you. Like, they're pissed that you like wrestling. Like, what the F's wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with you? Like wrestling. Like, get that. Everyone knows who I'm talking about. Everyone's got that person in their life. Make them sit down and watch this movie with you. And I dare them not to have a tear rolling down their face. Because really, this movie has nothing to do with wrestling. It just happens to be about three guys who wrestle.
Yeah.
We have some questions from fans. This one I'm very interested to hear. Who is the better wrestler? Karl Malone, Jay Leno, David Arquette, or Jimmy King?
God, there's no competition there. Karl Malone's the greatest athlete on the planet, man. Karl Malone, the number one scorer of all time, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right?
Yeah.
Number two is Karl Malone. Not Jordan, not Kobe, not Jerry West. It's Karl Malone. And if Karl Malone wanted to do it on a full-time basis, he could have. Now, the best gimmick is Dennis Rodman. Like, Dennis got, he got being a heel, and he just did, he thought he didn't have to practice. When you don't have to practice when you're in the NBA, when you practice and practice and practice and practice, become one of the greatest rebounders maybe ever, well, then maybe you don't have to. But when it comes to wrestling, you do. You need to learn how to do it. But he did get the gaga and all the Shakespeare stuff.
Another person's asking from earlier today, because you were instrumental in getting Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to jump ship, which kind of really kicked off the Monday Night Wars or took it to another level. What was the reaction of the WCW locker room when they came in? And did they know your involvement with that process?
They knew. They knew. Bischoff knew. Of course, because the NWO didn't have the name the NWO at that time, but it started in my garage. I mean, that's where it all came from. And it was so funny because Bischoff puts that over in the whole NWO, run when they did the DVD on it. And then I never get mentioned again. I'm like, seriously? Sting went into the rafters. Who was the one babyface fighting him? Oh, me. Like, I don't get mentioned anywhere through there. It's like, wow, okay. Kevin was just here today, as a matter of fact. He came in with Scott. As soon as I finished, I do workouts at the DDP Yoga Performance Center now for the summer, every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, every Monday night at 6. So I was just getting ready to leave the building, and who comes rolling up but Nash and Hall and Cody Hall. Come over to DDP Yoga Performance Center. You really never know who's going to walk in there. But Kev first when Scott came in, everybody was psyched. Remember, I was still, if those guys are here, I'm like here. Like, I'm like mid-card maybe then. And, everybody was pretty psyched because they thought, wow, Scott Hall's here. And pretty much everybody knew Kevin was going to come in. So again, people were psyched. We're getting two of their huge stars coming over red hot. And then they started killing everybody. That was, that was heat. That was heat, because, wait a minute, these two guys are killing everybody. And then when Hulk switched, then they just killed everybody. Like, they annihilated groups of guys. So, I always say, if you don't have any haters, well, every guy on top has a ton of haters. They have a ton of supporters too, but they got a ton of haters. So it was it was unique. It was really unique for me because both of those guys I helped come in. Both of them were legitimate good friends of mine. And they were killing everybody, and I was sort of getting allowed to go boop, 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 because no one was really paying attention to me. I was just doing my thing. And then when I saw Sting, as my career was really starting to go, and I saw Sting, leave, I'm like, who's going to fight these guys? And again, that's when I came up with the whole idea. You guys come to me, want me to be in, and I go, what, now? Number 4. At the time, it was 4. By the time we did it, it was number 8.
Yeah.
And that's only because I was going to say, no, I walk away, oh, it's Dally, and you let it go. Again, they're killing everybody but me. And that happened for 10 weeks. And I gave them that whole idea, and in the beginning, they didn't do anything with it. And then I was getting ready to leave and ask for my release. And then they started it. And then the bookers didn't believe in me. Bischoff at that point was putting me in that position because I brought that whole idea to Kevin. And I said, Kev, here's the idea. You guys ask me, and I go, I'm not doing it. And it comes the next week. You guys come to me again. You ask me again. I go, no, I'm not doing it. Dally, walk away, you put up with it. Then you come to the ring, you do something. I beat my guy, you put me out, I put the shirt on, and then I do the thing. I had that laid out for 3 weeks. It took 10 because the bookers kept canceling it.
Yeah.
On the sheet, and they pull it off, which really made it so much better.
After that, was there ever any real conversations, even later on, of you maybe joining the NWO or the Wolfpack?
I never encouraged that. We came up with the idea when it was going into Rodman coming in, that's where I would live the feeling. You were just about to join the Red and Black. What happened then? Well, Hogan came from behind me and hit me with a chair, and then Dennis Rodman hit me, and they beat the hell out of me with chairs and ended up on ESPN. I will never forget before I walked out there. Dennis, he's amped up. I know he's never hit anybody with a chair yet.
Yeah.
So there is a big rolled up mat. And I grabbed Dennis, I go, dude, here's how you do this. You lift the chair straight up, come down hard, but it's got to go flat. And I show him, I hit it really hard twice. And I go, let me show you what happens if your hand just moves a little bit and you hit me with the edge. You break 5 of my ribs. He looked at me, and I go, you try it. And he hit it flat. I said, do it just like that. Don't come weak with it. Come hard. And Hogan set me up, and then I was lucky. It hurt like hell, but he didn't break anything.
Yeah. Wow.
We also have someone in the comment section who asks, did you ever consider jumping ship to WWE during the Monday Night War era? Did they ever reach out to you? You mentioned that you were about to ask for your release.
That was, at that point, I was really feeling like I had to go. It was before my match with Sting. And you remember I won the Battle Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, like the Battle Bowl ring. Now, just to show you, the first guy to win the Battle Bowl ring, there's only been 3 people. One's Dusty Rhodes. The other's Sting. That's the prestige. When I won it, it was Barbarian, Ice Train, Johnny Grudge, Rocco Rock, Bobby Eaton at the end of his career, who was an amazing worker, but at the end of his career, and 3 other guys, I don't even remember who they are.
I'm going to look it up.
Look it up, because I forgot. And I just know they weren't part of the last 5.
Yeah.
And it was Canyon and I who had come up with the idea. Like Canyon said, so who's the last 3 guys? I said, I don't know. When it was originally pitched to me by Kevin Sullivan, it was going to be Flair, me, and Macho. And I was like, what? But this is 2 months before.
Yeah.
And the finish is going to be you go over the top rope. And he literally said, skim the floor. Isn't that what Austin did something like that too? But I'm telling you, this is 2 months before King of the Ring, any of that. Skim the floor, you pull up on the apron. Flair goes for the figure 4. Mach hits him on the ass. He goes over the top rope. Mach thinks he won. You slide in, spin him, and bang him. It's going to be a over the top rope, submission, and pinfall. I'm like, seriously? He's like, yes. Of course, that was 2 months before. That all changed, and now I keep asking Sully, like, who's going to be there? Who are we going to have? And right on up to the day of, and I got 2 matches before that because you got to win the tag team matches to get there. And Canyon and I just came up with this triple diamond cutter match. Diamond cutter finish, and that's how that ever came to be. But again. Look at the group I was in, and look what Sting and look those up, and Dusty. And it just shows you where they saw me. They didn't see me being a top guy. They weren't going to help it.
Scott Norton and Dick Slater were the other 2.
Wow, Dickie at the end. Scotty, what a bull he was. I can't believe he was gone that early. Barbarian must have thrown him out or something.
Yeah, and the round before, Savage and Flair had been beaten. Savage, Flair, and Rick Steiner. Ouch.
They also, what I did is this is the beginning of this. Like when I really started to brand this, I would say Flair, Savage, the Road Warriors, Sting, everybody. They all started when they're, and I'd use that line from, God, what was it called? The Highlander. When it's all said and done, there can be only one, I use that line. And I just keep going, the diamond cutter, the deadliest move on the planet, all of that. So they only let me beat enhancement guys. Look at the times I won matches. Look who I beat. I mean, for friggin' up till the middle of 96. And then I get to beat Alex Wright, who had a hell of a push coming in as the Wonder Kid, Das Wonder Kid. And great kid. And I was finally going to get to beat a guy who was like, at this point, a mid-card guy. And when I figured out, the bookers would send me home early. Like, they'd tell you got a 12-minute match and send you home around 7. Well, the matches are going to make sense then. If you tell me 12 minutes, I'm going to do 12 minutes. But if you keep sending me home early, well, then my matches really won't be as good as they should be. So that match, I never went home until I felt like it. And, man, Charles Robinson, Diamond, they're screaming in the back, go home. And I looked at him and I said, shut the F up. I'll take the heat. And I was choking Das Wonder Kid, Alex, Diamond, we should go home. Take us home. I go, go when I tell you to. Boom, boom, boom. And we finally did it and flipped him over the top, hit him with a cutter. Sully came up to me, man. I thought for sure he was going to chew my ass out. Congratulations, kid. Tonight you became a worker. I just took control of my own destiny out there. Jake Roberts taught me that, and that was the beginning of me starting to get over as a worker. Then I was lucky enough to work with guys like Eddie Guerrero, who was, took me to a whole different level,
Yeah. Speaking of the diamond cutter sign, someone was asking, whatever happened with the thing with Jay-Z over him using it after you had trademarked it?
It's funny because all I'm allowed to say about that is the matter has been resolved. And one thing I can say, when I first brought that suit against Jay-Z, he was like maybe $100 million rapper. There's plenty of guys who made $100 million and ended up with nothing. Of course, Jay-Z's a mogul. He's like Donald Trump, now. So, there's a lot of things that Jay-Z does that I'm a big fan of. And, we settled all our stuff, so I got nothing, but positive things for him.
Yeah. And another question about the DDP Yoga DVD. Is it available on European region PAL?
It's on every region. We did a thing, all regions, because we wanted to make sure that all the DVDs could be all over the world. And right now, everybody's heard, not everybody, but a lot of people have heard about the app. And I've literally put just under $1 million in DDP Yoga now. And I did that so people in Europe, they don't have to, unless they want DVDs, they really don't need them anymore. Especially all these millennium kids, but my audience really is 30 and up. I have a lot of people in their 20-somethings, but it's really 30 and up, my overwhelming audience for DDP Yoga. But DDP Yoga now, the app, is the best fitness workout on the planet because it tracks your blood, your heart rate. It works it into the program, shows you how long in your fat burning zone, but not just for the DDP Yoga workouts. I also have a custom button up there so you can go running, biking, lifting weights, whatever, and track your whole workout. And that's all free. So I would tell anybody, go to the DDP Yoga Now app first and look around and see all the stuff that's there. Now, there's a lot of stuff locked up because that's our subscription, because it costs me $25,000 a month just to run the app. Jeez. If one person's on or 100 million are on, it's $25,000 to me. And like I say, I got almost $1 million in it because I just didn't build it for the iPhone. I built it for the iPhone, the iPad, the Droid, the tablet, and your computer. So if I spend $10,000 on something, I want to do this on it, give notifications. Oh, that just cost me $42,050. $42,000. Okay, not 10. So it's very expensive, and I know what I have, and I know what our results are. So now, if you invest in the DVDs, I give you 3 months of the app, and then after that, it goes to $8.99 a month, which is $1 under $9.99 a month. Who has that? Oh, the network. I love the network. I only watch once in a while, but I pay for it every month because I want to have it at my disposal. I want to be able to watch it. I think it's amazing.
I know you've been busy getting back from Australia and everything, but have you heard the news this week about the brand split coming back and SmackDown going live on Tuesdays?
I heard that. So I just literally heard that. I thought it was a misprint.
Yeah, they're for the first time.
Or is it NXT? And what is it? What is the brand split?
Yeah, so it's back to, because when you started with WWE, they had the brand split, right? And you were on SmackDown, so they're going back to that. They haven't decided yet if they're going to have 2 world champions again. I think it sounds like they're leaning in that direction. But yeah, I wanted to get your impression when you were with WWE, when they had the brand split. What was the competition like between the SmackDown guys and the Raw guys, and the writers, and the 2 different teams, or was there much?
It was such a weird time, especially for me coming in there. And I wasn't really there that long. I was only there for 6 months. And 6 of those weeks I had a knee operation on my meniscus where I tore my meniscus. But we were the enemy coming in. I never realized how much heat that we had because we almost put them out of business. It was so close. Do you know how close it was?
Very close.
It was so close to them literally going out of business, which personally I would have hated. I did not want none of the boys wanted WCW or WWF to win. Nobody. That's not good, and it's been proven. if they're going to do a brand split, I would definitely do Raw and NXT. I mean, I would keep everything around NXT because, like ECW, it's created, like NWO, it's created its own audience. And it's strong, man, you know, from what I see. Now, is it Raw? No, not yet. You know, but it's different, it's new. I don't know how you split that up, though, with your top guys that you have there who came to NXT. I don't know how you rob from one to take over the other. You know,
there's a lot of filler on Raw already, and now with half that roster, I mean, do you see that?
Hours. You can't do 3 hours. And
That's
not
what I
have
was thinking, too.
Yeah.
But also remember, that's going to give other guys a chance to show, you know, and really step up. You know, like AJ couldn't have come in at a better time with all the guys that are injured. Like I'm saying right now, and Brian Alvarez asked me 7 years ago, 5 years from now, at that time, he said, where will Diamond Dallas Page be? And I'm using this as a reference point. I said, 5 years from now, DDP will be the next Jack LaLanne meets Tony Robbins meets straight Richard Simmons. People have to know who Richard Simmons is to get that joke.
Oh, they know who that is. Come on.
Well, some people don't. Some young kids who are watching have no Richard Simmons. What's that mean? But I literally said, I honestly believe that at that time, YRG, now DDP Yoga, is going to start to dwarf my wrestling career. And he was like, come on, D. That's a bold statement. I said, yeah, I know, but I believe it. And I wouldn't say it's dwarfing my wrestling career, but it's definitely equaled and is about to pass on all levels.
Which do you prefer being recognized and known for, if you had to choose?
It's one of those things that I love what I'm doing now because, you know, one of the reasons I've gotten Jake to help turn his life around, because he's inspiring people. You know, he's helping literally change people's lives. You'd have to have been in some of our Q&As to see some of the responses that people have had, because if Jake could do this, I could do this. You know, they look so much up to Jake and watched him crash and then come up with the resurrection of Jake the Snake. That's a whole different thing, man. I think in the next 5 years, I'll be the fitness guru dude who, yeah, used to wrestle too. And that'll be where it's at. I know I had a Hall of Fame career. I'm already in 2 of them, but in both of them, I'm recognized also for, you know, what I do with DDP Yoga and just helping people. So, you know, there's no downside there. You know, but my point is, in 5 years, all of the WWE superstars will be doing some kind of yoga.
Who all's doing it now that you know of?
Oh, God. Off the top of my head, of course, the big stars you know, from Jericho, Goldust, AJ, people like Sammy. I just said it to Sami Zayn. It has turned his app on. Victor's I just turned on. This is like in the last month. I mean, I have a really long list, and I can't really remember all the guys. Damien Sandow. Damien was the first guy to come up to me and say, you know, D, I love what you're doing, and this is going to be amazing preventative maintenance. And I looked him in the eye and I went, you're the first guy to get it. Like, forget I'm injured, I got to heal myself, or I got to do this because I'm hurt. Do it so you don't get hurt. Like, I'm not just stretching because I'm engaging muscles as I'm moving. I'm not just stretching. I'm stretching and strengthening not just muscles, but ligaments and tendons. That's why certain players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who one of my mentors in yoga is this guy named Brian Kest. Brian was his one-on-one coach for 12 years of his career, from 29 to 42 or 41. He played till he was 41.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest score ever, because of his longevity and because he scored a lot of points, but because he could. And a 7'1" guy could run back and forth up and down that court like that. Again, got to be doing some kind of yoga. Again, I didn't develop this for yogis. I developed this for people who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. And eventually I'm going to put a whole list of guys, because I got a lot of actors now doing it, and different people that, I'll tell you when it's really going to take a whole new shape, is when I find that player in the NFL. The guy who used to run for 800 to 1,000 yards, and today is running for 150 to 250 because he's always hurt. And I get to spend 6 months with that guy. And that next year he comes out and runs for 1,100 yards. That's when, and it'll be in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And DDP Yoga at that point won't just be a household name in the wrestling community. It'll be in the world. And I've already seen it, so I know it's already going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen because I get people enthusiastic about what I'm talking about because I can back it all up. And when you see the ad that I'm not going to tell you what happened in it, but I just told Raj because it'll be played on Wrestling In First, so I'm sure he'll get the first shot at playing the video. But instead of putting an ad out, like my normal, the Netflix is coming, Resurrection of Jake the Snake is coming to Netflix, and it's going to be 99 cents for the month of June on iTunes and Google Play and Amazon and PlayStation, and the DVD's out. Instead of doing that, we did something completely different, and it's stupid funny, but the ending, no one knew the ending because I didn't. Until the fourth time we shot it, and then it hit me, and I just did it. And it's not a diamond cutter, but that I could do what I did at 60. It's just one of those things, like most people aren't doing it at 40.
You did a 450 splash, didn't you?
Close. For a 60-year-old man, yeah. It would be considered a 450 splash.
Travis Akers asks, are there any current WWE wrestlers that you kind of see yourself in them, or that they remind you of yourself?
Just little pieces, like, and I'm not comparing myself to Zig Ziglar at all, because I think that guy's more like Mr. Perfect. Like, he can do anything. Like, to me, I would put the big push on Zig, like the big push, because women love, guys want to hang with him, and women want to, you know what they want to do. He's a man's man, but he can talk. He's got a great body. He's not being the tallest guy, but he's tough as nails. Along the line of a Daniel Bryan. He's tough as nails, and he's got a great push. He dresses in a 70s look sometimes. I've had people send me pictures. Zig doing a little gig on DDP here tonight. Sometimes he'll dress like a 70s dude with the hair and stuff. But I see little pieces in different guys, like Enzo a little bit, some of the great stuff, and just little pieces. I like watching guys, find a little piece. Like, if you really went back and looked at Diamond Dallas Page when I got over at the end of 96 and through 97 on up, it's a little piece of Perfect. It's a little piece of Savage. It's a little piece of Funk. It's a little piece of Dusty Rhodes. It's a big piece of Jake Roberts. You put all those together, you got a DDP. I love watching the new guy come out and see what he can do, how kind of reaction he gets.
Yeah.
Flying Scotsman asks, if China had been ready to accept help, do you believe that you could have helped her to the same extent that you have helped Jake Roberts and Scott Hall?
That I don't know. I did reach out to her a number of times, though. And she was a good kid. She got, confused like a lot of people do. When you're stuck in that drug world, man, you do things you never would have done. And then you realize what you've done, so you might as well get high so you don't remember it. It's cool again. And it's a shame because she was, that girl should be in the Hall of Fame. And because of the porn thing, most likely never will be, But, she was a dominant figure, in our game. Like, if she beat you, like, okay. Jarrett laid down for her. I would have, she was a force to be reckoned with. And, I respected her a lot in the ring. I thought she was, just the way they used her, I thought was unbelievable,
She was Ronda Rousey before Ronda Rousey because there was no MMA.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
I think it's like every person who's first, they carve that way that makes it easier for the next. Like, I just want you to think about it, and you have to go back to 1988, 89, 90, and go back and look at the women who walked to the ring with me. I will put them up against any diva at any time. I had the finest pussy ever. Ever. They were the divas before there was a diva. I was known with the guy who had the girls. Like, oh, that's a drag. I'm the guy with the girls. Okay. Why do you do everything? Because you want women. Why do you go to bars? To pick up girls. Why do you become an athlete? To get girls. Why do you play music? To get girls. I thought, I'm going to run the bar. Oh, that's the spot.
Thanks for taking the time with us. We'll ask a couple more questions. I'll go ahead and ask one, and then Sean can finish up, and then we'll wrap it up. Joe M49er was asking, with Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff, how would you compare those two as bosses?
Well, Eric was my buddy. Well, actually, he was my enemy at first. We met in a pull-apart fight. That's how we met. But I could tell Bischoff stories all night. Bishop was a real guy. He really was. He was a solid dude. Did his ego get in the way big time a couple times? Sure. But I don't think I've ever met a superstar that hadn't run into that problem one time or another, including myself. Everybody. Time to step yourself down and look at everything. But I think Bischoff, it was so much different because I could say things to him that no one could say to. Because, again, we were buddies and we came up together. Vince was this, where I screwed up with Vince, I was a mark for Vince McMahon. And looking back at it, now knowing Vince and the business the way I do, if I was or I wasn't, I never would have been coming in. Because that doesn't work. And the opening relationship, I was a pawn, and we were going to show that even though WCW did this to WWE for a long time, when it did this and this, well, that was just a fluke. It wasn't. I was there. We crushed him. And there was retribution coming. And I was the guy who got it. And I just kept my mouth shut because I realized I accepted that. And I took that in. So I learned a lot from Vince McMahon. I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about you can't be afraid to walk away from the table. It's made me mazillions of dollars since then. Because I will get up and walk away from a table like, this deal don't work for me. No, thank you very much, but I'm out of here. And I learned that from Vince. I learned a lot from him. So I consider working with both of them and for both of them, an honor. I mean, it's helped put me to where I am today.
We had a reader ask, what was it like when you during your departure from the WWE? Did you part on good terms, and did you speak to Vince McMahon on the way out?
Vince wanted me to be a representative for the company, and Kevin Dunn wanted me to be the color guy. Not at that point, but that's what he called me the Jesse Ventura of the 90s. And I got to tell you, I was so burned out that I needed to go away. And Kevin said, take 2 weeks, just think about it. He really wanted me. And Vince knew I was great for the company. I mean, I never say anything negative about anybody unless it's to their face, because that's how I roll. If I got something to say, you can bet I'm coming to talk to you, but I'm going to say it right to your face. You're not going to have to hear about it from somebody else. So when I left, Jim Ross was talking to me, and I was like, Jim, I just got to get away, man. And my neck's killing me, my body hurts. It's just time for me to walk away. It's probably sort of like Punk, but I did it way more diplomatically. Not that Punk's was the wrong way. It just wasn't my way. I don't say negative things about people. It's not who I am. Again, I'll say it to your face. But I left on good enough terms, but not. So no one talked to me for 5 years. I was okay with that. I just knew that that's the way it was, and I'll just take the high road. And then one day they called me about doing the very best of Nitro. And I said, I'm interested. Send me the script. And when they sent it to me, I didn't call them back. And then I got a call from the producer. He said, did you get the script? I said, yes. What'd you think? I said, I don't think you want me to do this. Oh, no. Everyone wants you to do this. You're the face. We really want to build this up. I go, well, were you there around 1996? He goes, oh, God, yeah, I was right there. I was the guy who was telling Kevin Dunn, go, look what they're doing now, Kevin, look what they're doing now. I said, then we brutally beat your ass for like 89 straight weeks. He goes, yeah, it was unbelievable. I go, I'm not going to say this stuff. I get the history's written by the winners, but I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to justify it like a lot of people, oh, yeah, WCW was so bad. Bullshit. Both companies were bad. Both went through highs and lows. There was a lot of really good down there, though, and we beat your ass during it. And he said, well, what do you have problems saying? So I went, bing, 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 bing. And he went, well, change it. I said, I can change it? He said, you can say whatever you want. I said, seriously. And I would not take his word for it. Michael Hayes had to call me. Paige, hey, listen, I ain't got time to talk right now, but I'm telling you, they want you to do this. I'm not going to swear in a stack of Bibles or on my dog, but I'm telling you, it's good. You're good, Paige. Trust me. I said, all right, Mike, you say so. And I did it. And it was the best move I made. And Kevin Dunn saw how hard I worked on that. I came up with all that stuff that set everything up. And he loved it. We sold really good. He brought me back for number 2. By number 3, they were looking at what I was doing. And I told Triple H when I filmed number 3, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I got Jake living with me now. I know you know that. And I'm not saying I'm going to help friggin' set Jake Roberts straight. I'm not saying, because you guys spent 11 different times just sending the rehab, I know. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but, man, I just got a feeling about this, bro, so I just want you to know about it. So he knew all the way through, man. And Triple H, the reason why you see both those guys in the Hall of Fame, where they belong.
They doing a fourth Best of Nitro?
I can't imagine that, but...
Best of WCW Worldwide, maybe?
To me, there was so much great stuff that I did with Raven and Benoit. But both of them, there was never a point where I could just pull Rave out. There was one match I got him in. on one of them, but he should have been in so many more. Raven was an amazing talent. Loved my feud with him. He was a good buddy of mine. And I'm the one who wanted to work with Benoit because I thought Benoit was an amazing talent. And it's a shame what happened, but I always tell everybody, and I know you guys know this, our guy who does all the concussion stuff.
Christopher Nowinski.
Yes, what a great guy. Chris does all that, and he's the one who said that Benoit had the brain of an 85 or 87-year-old Alzheimer patient. That's how many bruises he had in his brain. So
with dementia.
Yeah, the whole deal. So it wasn't a Chris Benoit I knew, and when something like that happens, it was like that should have killed wrestling, and it didn't. Like wrestling's not going anywhere. I remember when UFC was just boom, 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 boom. Oh man, UFC's gonna dominate. They're gonna take over WWE. I'm like, no, they're not. They're gonna get the audience, but it's never gonna take. It might take some of our people, but they're gonna come back because wrestling's cyclical. And that's what it does. That's what it does.
Yeah, I just wish there was a strong number 2 because I think that would help it, get back to that next level.
I agree.
Dallas, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We, of course, encourage everybody to check out The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, available on Vudu, PlayStation Network, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon. Now available on Blu-ray and DVD. You can get a good deal.
20 extras on that.
20 extras. You can get a good deal by using the code WINC. And, of course, my friends, go get DDP Yoga and use that ddpyoga.com/Wrestling Inc. link, because that's the one DDP really wants you to use.
I don't care which one you use.
Yeah. You want them to use that Wrestling Inc. link.
That's the only one I want you to use.
Exactly. No other affiliates. None. Dallas, thank you so much. It's always great to have you here.
Hey, boys, it's as usual been your pleasure, and I enjoyed it. Have a great night, guys.
All right, take care, Dallas.
See ya.
Guys, we will rejoin you on Monday. If you didn't check it out, myself and Rob did a mock draft last night. Got a lot of reception. Raj, did you see the rosters?
Yeah, I did. I thought you won out on that. And you know what? The one big thing that I think has been getting missed with this whole brand split thing is this is the first time they're doing it with SmackDown Live. And every time, when they did it with SmackDown Tape, they would start it strong, and then they always want the surprises on Raw because they don't want it being leaked and everything. So this will be really interesting this time. I could see it being different just because of that, the fact that it is live.
It's the first time they've really had an even playing field.
Absolutely. And another thing, I got to wonder what precipitated it. Like, what caused USA Network to want it? Because it's not like WWE was really trying to make SmackDown strong and was failing, and then they're like, okay, well, then let's try moving it and making it live. So I thought that move was kind of interesting, but it's, overall, I think it's a good move because anytime you see a pay-per-view week, it's a lot of wrestling, but the numbers are always strongest Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So that interest stays early in the week and then fades, as it goes along.
I agree. You don't have to deal with the NFL later this year. Now, if I were the WWE, this is what I would have said. Okay, USA, we'll go live on Tuesdays. Please let us can one of those hours on Monday.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard. There's a lot of filler on Raw right now for 3 hours. What's it going to be like with half that roster gone?
I think they're making the right moves. The biggest move, SmackDown going live is great, but the biggest move is Raw needing to go to 2 hours. And I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I don't either. It's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. Guys, join us next Monday following Raw for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Like I said, check out our mock draft from last night. Raj, anything to leave these people with?
No, everyone have a good weekend, and you keep checking out the site. We've got tons of cool stuff coming up tomorrow and this weekend.
Indeed, guys. Until next time, we are out.